But again, this is how you know you're doing the right thing. If you ever are worried, and this again, I don't make a choice in my life until I have a second witness. Okay. If I want something, I'll be like, okay, it's usually not enough to make me act. But if I want something and then I hear about it, or if I, there's got to be two events, or if it's something that I can't get off my mind, if I'm like, if it's something big and I'm really like, oh, cautious, I'll have to start thinking about that a bunch before I'm actually, I'll have to really know. And you kind of wait and you just, this is like one of those things that there's multiple reasons that that you're doing the right thing with going vegan, because it not only heals the environment, it heals the human body. It's good for it's good for our financial system, our healthcare system. It's good for the animals, the wildlife, just all of it. Okay. Number one cause of deforestation is animal agriculture, especially grass-fed beef. By far. The world does not want us eating meat. God does not want us eating meat. Our bodies do not want us eating meat. We get heart disease and diabetes from eating too much meat, especially red and processed meat. Cut that out first if you are going to do anything. And dairy, the worst. The worst in every way. The cost to our healthcare systems is outrageous. With meat, all these king's diseases being the number one diseases, think about the cost to our healthcare systems. Think about the poverty we could eliminate. Think about the people we could help. Think about how radically different we could put our resources towards curing cancer or doing something else with their time, rather than treating all of this man-made heart disease, these environmental king's diseases. It's ridiculous. It's people say it's a personal choice. This is not a personal choice. Your choice to eat meat, especially red and processed meat, is affecting everybody on this planet right now. It is implicated in the top 3 major killers: heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes. Okay, heart disease number 1, usually, COVID years excluded, right? Recent years. Heart disease, number 1, stroke number 2, cancer number 3, diabetes, I believe, number 4, or maybe up to number 6. Certain years it maybe fluctuates as well. The top killers, 4 out of the top 5 or 6 killers, meat eating is implicated with. Most people avoiding these diseases, I mean, it's just the best case for most people to avoid, these products, supposed products, these animals, eating corpses of dead animals that are raised and tortured literally in disgusting facilities that you would never even want to go near, much less eat what's coming out of. Can this be good for our psyche? Can this be good for our spirit? No, it's not. And there's a reason that there's forces out there that want to keep as much suffering on this earth as possible to balance the scales. We'll just put it that way. If you want to believe in that, believe in it like that, because it's something to fight just this negative energy in general. Most people, for most people, avoiding, this would just completely radicalize their health. Pains, diseases, conditions would clear up. That we're spending a lot of money on, by the way. Big Pharma likes us just thick enough to keep on shilling out all of our tax dollars. Okay, right? It's going to be the best case scenario for everybody to go vegan, for our national financial outlook, health, productivity. It's a win-win-win-win-win. I always say that. Okay. Broken record, sorry, but it has to be said. Communities around the world that you see who eat lower fat, okay, they're not eating these high fat diet all the time. And when I say fat, I'm talking saturated fats, because they haven't done studies on vegan people who are eating higher quantities of good fats. And being as that everything packaged in a whole food plant-based is good, even the sugars is good to a certain extent, although there is something to be said for eating a huge amount of a really high carb, even if it's a whole food. Again, there's probably better things that you could be adding in there as a mixture, or getting that variety as we do, right? But the communities that eat lower fat, mostly vegetarian, again, we're looking at balance here. And again, you have this idea over the course of, again, our survival, we're all surviving, right? And then we come up as a culture and we still are eating what's around and what we've always eaten. So people kind of continue what they're doing. That's why you have these traditional diets that, whereas like the Okinawans and these traditional Italians that are Sardinians that are living so long in the blue zones, they're not eating a lot of meat. They're not eating a ton of, and traditionally they didn't eat a ton. It's not all about the white rice. That's not traditionally what was right. What was white rice? There was no such thing. They were eating higher fiber with their rice back then. Traditionally, they were eating the varieties. They were eating, a little bit of Again, the meats and the is much smaller as compared to the staples and sweet potatoes. So the blue zones are 95% vegan mostly, and they have a little wine, they have a little meat, they have a little. They're just mostly plant based, and that's how easy it is. You stay fuller, you have energy, you get that variety, you have that homeostasis, right? It's easy. When people go whole food plant based mostly, you just realize like, wow, this is easy, and you get to have your treats too. Like you get to have your little vegan meats on the side, and maybe a little treat every now and again. The Ornish diet has been top rated for years. Cardwell Esselstyn promotes kind of that low fat plant based lifestyle in his book. T. Colin Campbell, is all about this whole food plant based lifestyle, which is just naturally lower in especially saturated fats. A lot of these guys, McDougall, Graham, they like to keep, the fats relatively low. Again, I like to keep overall fat pretty low, relatively low. For keto, I would say relatively low. I like to amplify the protein, again, because it keeps you more full. Amplify the good fats. I like coconut and stuff. It does have some saturated fat, but there's no, again, I would say there's differences even in the saturated fat of coconut and plant, but that's just, that's just me. But still, I keep the overall fats. I try not to go crazy with them because you will see, that they put on the pounds. Don't go crazy with them, but you can enjoy, get the good fats and have a good balance. Okay. So eating this way, again, it's just an abundant lifestyle. And if you want an abundant life, it just makes sense that you're going to have an abundant lifestyle. And even if you're eating relatively low carb for like half of the month or a little bit more than half the month, again, you're still going to be eating a huge spectrum of, again, these wide varieties of foods. That is what we need to do. Okay. So committing to this and knowing that it's best for you, knowing that it's going to be the best for your mind, your emotions, your behavior, it's going to like set you up for success in every other way. Again, this is part of your lifestyle. This is part of your commitment to live your best life. That's all it is. Okay. We're avoiding obesity with this, because again, this fiber, these good fats, this protein, again, throw a little protein shakes in there is so good with the berries and the protein shake. You can get chocolate birthday cake. You can get chocolate chip cookie dough. And it's like, you just take a scoop of that and put it in. You can make your little cookie dough. You can make a bowl. You can make a cereal bowl. Like you can make milk out of it. Just like use that for your cereal, protein cereal. Like really, you can make little muffin, like mug cakes. It's like the possibilities are endless, and the recipes out there are crazy what you can do with the protein powders. And they're made, a lot of times you can get them made out of the good like pumpkin seeds, which are amazing for us. And when they're whole food plant based, that supposed processed, it's protein powder, it's so processed. No, honey, my protein powders are made out of whole food plant based, and that's where you get a variety. I've got a scoop of protein powder that now has 15 or 50 different awesome healthy foods in it. And then maybe I'll add some green powder. That's where your body's like, oh yeah, they turn on the cells and the energy, and they're getting the information out of these foods that they need. You know what I mean? And as back to the fiber, just to touch on the fiber, like if you're not used to the fiber, it can be bloating. So, watch it. You don't have to eat super high fiber just to eat vegan. So you can like lower the fiber a little bit and prioritize certain different types of fiber. Soluble fiber, excellent. Chia, flaxseed, excellent for weight loss, guys. Do those every day. Okay, if you take up flax, you can take a flax supplement or just take like some flax and put in water, or you just like you can do the dry. Be careful, but do the dry drink and then swallow with just the flax. Is amazing. It'll keep you hungrier. Do it in the morning. It'll tide you through. You won't have to have a real meal forever. You'll have a stable mood. Your cravings, you'll be able to tide you over to the next meal and have make better choices. So remember, obesity, guys, and when we look at our goals, remember this whole program, it's been about goals and meeting goals and setting goals. With your weight loss goals, you want to be careful. Again, don't make it all about the looks. Don't make it all about the class reunion or the holidays or whatever it is, okay? Make it about your health as well. And we know obesity is an epidemic. Again, we're helping the earth by staying healthy. We're helping our employer. We're helping our, that's dumb. Why do I think about them? Don't think about them. Think about everything else in your life. It's better for you. Our waistlines are growing by the decade. Okay. We are despite being overfed, we are still malnutritioned. Like I said, vitamin D, B12, potassium, fiber, basic fundamental building blocks. We are vastly deficient in this country, in this world stage that we're coming into with this industrialized revolution for the whole world. So we all have the king's diseases. Every 2 inches of fat around our waist can actually raise our chances of death, all cause mortality by up to 17%. Every 2 inches on your waist. Okay. So yeah, the average BMI of the blue zone of the Okinawans is about 20. Okay. 20. So the healthy zones you think of for us is like what, 18 to 25 maybe, maybe even higher than that. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but yeah, theirs is from 18 to like 22. That's the average of what they traditionally again are. Okay, so the lowest medical cost in an Italian study were for participants with a BMI of 17 to 18. Okay, that was not a highly publicized study, obviously, because there's this dichotomy of like, oh, letting people body love and like promote that, and like being thin is bad and it's too much, and that's where again some of this fasting is going to actually be good for you. Some of these ladies that are watching their calories and doing a little bit of calorie restriction is actually, it's so villainized, especially in the vegan communities. It's like, oh my god, calorie restriction, you're going to die, if you reach 1200 calories one day of your life. No, honey, you're going to be fine. And if you have excess weight to loss, dipping down every so often in a lower calorie zone is going to be good, once or twice a week, maybe even 3 or 4 times a week if you are chronically obese. Obesity is not good. Fasting is better than obesity. You can change, your diet, your biomarkers very drastically with fasting. So it's worth it. A lot of these studies that are claim that like being thinner is riskier, they tend to utilize studies who smoke, have cancer, are otherwise sick, or have eating disorders. And that's why there's that bell curve of being thinner is supposedly villainized. It's supposedly scary, bad, don't do it. Okay, but actually there's again these corporations that actually want us to spend our money on products, and they're willing to keep us consuming even at the detriment of our waistlines and our health. And our waistlines are one of the best indicators that we have. Again, throw your scale out. Like, you don't even need to pay attention to the scale. There's water fluctuations. It's not fat. You need to be thinking about fat loss and fitness and muscle rather than just weight loss in general. It's such a bad thing to get into, because then you get scared about even putting things like water into your body, because water has weight, right? You don't want to go about weight. It's not about weight. Water keeps you full so that you don't binge on things when you're not even hungry. Stay hydrated. Stay super hydrated, okay? It helps you have that slim waist. It helps flush things through. It helps clean your teeth. It helps keep things moving through your bloodstream and your digestive system, okay? Our waistlines are very critical, whether you're using waist circumference or just your actual waist or waist circumference or waist to hip ratio. They're both equally good so far, I think, from the research that I've shown. And we should take those seriously, even more so than pounds. BMI sucks, especially if you're a fitness muscle person. No, BMI is ridiculously outdated, okay? And remember, you can't change your body by hating it, okay? You're not going to hate yourself. You're not going to force an act and hurt your body and pay your dues into healing your body or bettering your body. Okay? We should love our bodies, but that's the love. You love your body enough to treat it well. You love your body enough to get it in a routine and get it to a place where it knows what to expect, so it can get into that homeostasis at least 80% of the time. 80-20 rule. Okay, remember, we have these things that keep on popping up. They keep on popping up. Those are the things we pay attention to. Okay? Plants and fungi. I can't say enough about fungi as well, too. I think there was actually a large percentage, and even probably apes, I would say, probably eat some sort of fungi as well. Okay? The plant, it takes up these plant foods and non-animal foods. They take up more of your stomach. They fill you up. They travel through your system faster, keeping your insides fresh and light. It feels better. Okay, the meaty diet just gets into your system. It's like a sluggish, it makes thick blood. It makes thick brain fog, unresponsive insulin. It coats the insulin, causes diabetes. Okay, very sluggish operation of our body systems. When you've got all the fiber, the water, the nutrients acting as they should, doing what they need to do, like nature intended them to do, most of the time, everything stays fine. Then you can have a little slight blood sugar fluctuation every other weekend, or whatever, every weekend, and you're fine, or then you can, do whatever. You can have your little cheats or time off or whatever. Okay. Fiber is so important though. Okay. Especially with our guts and our microbiomes. All of the snacks that the high processed foods that they make are perfectly created to entice your taste buds and keep you overeating, keep you addicted to certain foods and certain tastes, certain combinations and levels of fats and sugars and salts in our blood. There's a perfect ratio combination that they all know. All of these snack companies know it, and that's why people get addicted. That's why teens and kids, it's excitotoxins, and it's not only their eyes and their marketing and the crunch and the flavors, but it's the actual chemicals that they're putting in this junk food that keeps our bodies, throws them completely out of whack, throws the taste buds off, makes us not value and taste the good tastes that is natural to our body. Normal and natural bodies taste natural foods and they think, oh yeah, this tastes great. But if your body's all, got these chemicals in it, you're gonna have a skewed sense of taste and you're only gonna want those processed foods over and over. It's literal addiction to keep you coming back for more, for those chemical poop storms, right? So the fruits and the veggies are the ones that fuel and protect us. They make us strong. They keep our eyesight. They keep us clean. Again, helps us rejuvenate our bodies with these phytochemicals. Antioxidants are actually, fighting the free radicals for us. And we need to eat, we've been told what? We need to eat a handful of fruits and veggies a day. I would say get 9. If you could do 9 fruits and veggies a day, it's a good one to aim for. And it's really good for us who are so used to restriction. You're actually focused on getting more of something for once in your life. That's a good plan to go on for a while. Okay, an estimated 3.9 million deaths were attributed to inadequate fruit and vegetable consumption in 2017. Again, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Okay? Most of us don't eat enough fruit or especially enough vegetables. And it's not just the antioxidants and the phytochemicals, fiber as well. Again, keeps the bowels going. Blue zone diets contain very little meat, eggs, dairy, processed food. Lots of fiber. Okay? Okinawans, they love their ground flax, okay? They love their tofu. They get those omegas. They keep that sugar low. They keep that salt low. And it's basically a low-calorie diet, okay? Very light vegetable oil, but they use it. Again, moderation. They eat 10 to 20 servings of vegetables a day. They're physically active. Again, this balance, it's not any one thing, it's holistic, people. If anything's worth pursuing, it's worth pursuing holistically. They get 40 grams of fiber a day, 40. 9 hours of sleep on average as well. So this holistic idea is, again, if you're having issues, if you've always had issues with weight, check out my coaching program. I can help you get to the deeper and get you through the deeper issues. I can help you with the shadow work. I can help you. You don't need to watch all the programs. Just ask me for help real quick and I'll help you. Okay? Hit me up. Email and everything. Check it out on the link tree. Okay? Again, there's a lot of different variations on fat. Some people might do differently on fat, but we all need good fats. And I think the high carb, low fat, like the total fruit and just doing lettuces and veggies and stuff, it's not enough, especially again, as I get older, maybe things are changing. I don't know, because I was fine on it for a while. Maybe I was having a little less than I should have. I would say don't shy away from the fats. I mean, don't overdo, again, the nuts. I mean, again, it's like the sugar and the fats, they both can be villainized, but the sugar, if it's protected by the whole rest of the plant, that fiber, and again, it's kind of like the fiber is the magic in both sides. The fiber kind of reduces, and the other things, working together, the synergy of the plants, of the whole natural foods like God intended to give to us, they have all the information to fully deal with the fat, to fully deal with the sugar, right? The avocado, Dr. Greger, nutritionfacts.org, there's a meme about that. There's an infographic about that. The fat is fine in that instance. Avocados are fine. You will not gain weight eating nuts and avocados unless you're like totally overdoing it. You can have nuts, seeds, avocados. You can have more than you think probably too. Don't avoid these. You want that variety. Try some pine nuts. Try some hazelnuts. Try some pistachios. Try those nuts that you've never even heard of, hazelnuts. Why do we only do certain things? Don't ever just get on one thing and do it forever. It's the worst thing you can do. Overeating a mono meal forever. First of all, I would burn out. And maybe that's what I did after 10 years, or, however many years. I've about 8 or 9 years. I think I did more of the high carb veganism, and now I'm on the low carb, mostly, more low carb veganism. But the low carb, it can all sound crazy and like, why would you even do that? Restricting, especially if you're already restricting everything else. But again, it's just trying to get to this higher level, because once you're to a certain level, you're like, hey, why can't I get even healthier? Why can't I get even fitter? And we all know nutrition, like abs and everything, is all made in the kitchen, right? So you see people who are doing the longevity lean and getting to the point where I'm going to include myself in that, because I got some good pictures and videos. Again, my body's not like perfect all the time, but I built muscle on this, lower carb lifestyle with this pro protein. Okay. I still eat a lot of raw food. I still eat carbs, whole foods, mostly nature's carbs. Okay, the sweet potatoes, the berries, sweet potatoes and berries, number 1, number 2 carb. Love pumpkin and like other squashes and things like that as well. And some of those vary in their carbs as well. So not all of them are super high carb. So love that type of stuff, especially now the fall's coming. But yeah, the fat varies. I think it's good to vary the fat as well, because again, in nature, you're not always going to have, the most fattiest nuts all throughout the year. There's going to be a season for that. There's going to be a season for this tree, a season for that tree. And they're going to be slightly different. You're going to have to ration. You're going to have to, it's like variety, but also don't overdo it. The calorie restriction. Okinawans, I think they average 1,800 calories. There is that calorie restriction. Okay, even though they're active. So, and again, there might be a little shorter. It's not to say we all need to have exactly that many. I think 2,000 for like Americans, even shorter, average sized of us is pretty good, especially if you're active, or 2,300 around there. Like depending on your activity level, you just kind of want to find that balance and then go above and go below, and just kind of you always want to zigzag your calories a little bit. You don't want to ever just stay low. You will burn yourself out. You will backfire. You will throw your hormones out of whack. You will throw your metabolism out of whack. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. Don't get tempted into that. Even if you find some kind of supplement or something that helps you to keep your appetite down, don't get tempted. Don't do it. Okay, you got to keep, I would say, 250 calorie deficit, 500 calorie tops. More percentages would be good, but that's usually about what it comes down to. Again, if you're looking at about 2,000 calorie. So, especially if you're not overweight or overweight or obese, you don't really need too much fat. You can cut down that fat pretty low. You need about 40 to 60 grams, I would say, for like behavior, mood, stable hormones and everything, and good fats. Like, again, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the fats. And again, don't worry too much about the good carbs, even if you're trying to do the lower carb, because again, calculate those net carbs, okay? Too much animal protein will activate cancer cells. The China study, okay? If you're paying attention, the science is very clear. They're reversing heart disease with these diets, with these whole food, plant-based diets. And again, we don't need to fight over high carb, low carb. That's not, even as a low carb person mostly, you see where I'm having this balance. You see where I'm not taking a stand of dogma. That's the opposite. We need to unite as vegans, okay? Because that's what they use against us too, is that the grains, they'll use, you just eat grains and high carb stuff all day, and they actually use that against us. And it's like, You can see why, because we've only been eating the grains for 100,000 years, if that. That's max. That's cereal grains in a different form. That's like chewing on wheatgrass, basically, you know, and maybe eating the sprouts. Not like baking baked goods with fat and stuff in them. You know, you got to be careful about what we think a carb is. Carb is not a muffin. Carb, you know, that's a fat. And then, you know, again, if you're kind of saying lower calories in general, you'll keep to the lower fat stuff. You'll keep to the higher nutrients and higher fiber stuff. Anyways, it's all, again, it's a win-win-win-win once you go for the whole foods. Okay, but don't be afraid of a little processed stuff, a little processing, a little, especially when you're just like grinding something up, or, you know, if it's just like a veggie burger that's, or like just egg. People talk smack on just egg. Just egg is mung beans. Do you know how healthy mung beans are? Like, don't think everything processed is necessarily bad, especially in moderation, right? And again, know your negativity. You know, people are like, oh, you're a processed meat, when they're eating meat and all they do is drink beer all day. Like, come on, like if I'm eating meat as my vice and you're like drinking beer, then I'm going to be doing way better than you. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's a lot of different studies that'll villainize different things, and they don't always, they're not going to always portray the truth. And some of these studies, again, you have a lot of studies that are being promoted and even set up and funded by the meat and dairy industry. And even when people think they're doing like small, you know, farmers and small, like the Weston A. Price Foundation, go back to my videos on that. Yikes. Okay. Even oils, I would kind of keep to the lower side. Not a huge fan of a ton of oils. You've got good, you know, there's some good oils, and like just a little bit of variety is good. Flax, algae, chia, walnuts, good examples. Okay. So lots of good omegas and some different veggies as well too. Some lettuces, eat a lot of those. That can be good as well. Lots of greens and stuff like that. So it can really be easy. It can really be fun. You can get a huge variety. Okay, don't think of this whole food plant-based diet as restrictive. There's under 800,000. I've seen different studies about that. I mean, or different numbers come through, but there's like so much. You can actually eat more volume again, because when you're eating like saturated fat, it's just like so much more concentrated calories and fat in the same amount of food. So you can actually eat cups and cups and cups of foods that actually fill you up and fill you up longer, especially again if you're getting those omegas, the protein and the fiber together are your like miracle 3 to keep you fuller longer. Feeling satiated is important, and you should be trying to not snack too much. We've gotten into like this snacking culture, and I gotta have my snacks, even my healthy snacks everywhere. You know, it's like, no, don't eat anywhere closer than 3 hours, and even go to 4 or 5 if you can between hours between meals, if you can't, you know, to try to kind of train yourself. And again, a little bit of omegas again in there with your high fiber whole food plant-based meal is going to be the best possible thing for you to do. And again, getting your variety of nutrients is also going to help your cells get what they need, so that you're not going to have any cells freaking out trying to get things, and, you know, sending hazard signals and stuff like that as well. So very, very important. Let's see what else. So yeah, it's very clear from the studies out there that when you look at waistline, when you look at all of that, really meat and dairy and eggs and processed food is just so clearly implicated with a higher waistline, with higher of all the diseases. I don't even really need to get into that. Know that your taste buds will change as well too. Your taste buds will change to a new diet. Once you give up foods, you will be like, whoa, if you ever go back and try it again, you might be really surprised. Happen all the time, and it can happen in a few days. I used to be surprised at how fast it can change. If you're eating something and you eat it a lot, and then you stop eating it for a few days and then go back to it after that, whoa, like, you will be surprised. Your taste buds can change. Salt is, I think, it gets villainized a lot. It is not that bad. If you're eating a lot of processed foods, you're naturally eating a lot of salt, but it's usually not the salt, it's the other stuff they're putting in. So obviously you want to get a good quality salt, those real salt that has less plastics. We have to worry about plastics. This is why you have to eat less processed foods, because even our non-processed foods have plastics, and because our soil is depleted. This is why we have to supplement, and why we have to really make a focus to eat healthier as much as we can, because not only are these processed foods horrible for us, and we're all eating more processed foods across the board, but the healthy foods that we do eat have less, and all the foods that we do eat have less nutrients in them because our soils are depleted. So it's crazy. It's not only that, but our, social conditioning just raises us up on these processed foods, and the system makes the processed foods actually more inexpensive than regular foods. So you see where the line of obesity, really the uneducated and the poor are the ones who are eating the cookies, the cakes, the muffins, the popcorns, the sugary stuffs, because they're the cheapest. You can go to the stores and get these huge tubs of, chips and crunchies and, way little cheesy poofs and these cookies, dollar store cookies, and it's Pop-Tarts and stuff, and they have a lot of fat. They have a lot of sugar. Again, you have this magic ratio. It's not any one thing. When people a lot of times when they cut out carbs again, that's the only reason why, is because they're cutting out all of that stuff. They're not cutting out carbs. They're just cutting out these muffins, cookies, cakes, popcorns, butter on your waffles and your syrup and your mashed potatoes and your pasta. It's not just the carbs. It's not just the fat. It's everything put together that in this culture we are just pushed with ever since we turned 1 year old. Our favorite vegetable is a French fry, and our favorite other way to get vegetables is on pizza or in ketchup. So yeah, it's bad here. So sugar is bad. They try to get us in this, sugar versus fat versus salt, it's not that bad, but it's like taking the pieces of it's everything, it's all together, and especially these combinations. It's like a hard drug when you get, especially the combinations. I mean, some of these like sugar and the casein, the morphine, and the dairy, especially the cheese, actually does work on your brain in a certain way to make it very addictive. And again, the way they combine these different macronutrients in ways to make them very addictive for our brain as well. But some of these can be really toxic when they add up. Okay. So all the chemicals, all the MSG, the food colorings, preservatives, it's not just the macronutrients, okay, and the fat and the salt and the sugar. So it's just that you don't want to eat a lot of processed foods in general, but if you're just salting your food, like, don't worry about it. Or if you're just having a mostly whole food plant-based and you have a couple of maybe like those good bean snacks. I love these good snacks. Even the what's the brand, the No Cow or the No Pig or the whatever. I mean, I like No Cow, but the outrageously good. What are those? The pig. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Oh gosh, I can't think of it. The one that the skateboarder was all about, and that's so good snacks. Like if you're eating a little bit of that every now and again, that's fine. But it's just having those types of foods all the time really throws your body out of that homeostasis that we need to stay in. Okay, so yeah, remember the China study. Look into that if you need any more proof. That it's the animal protein that is really bad, and it's when you look at these NFL, the game changers, look at that. Like athletes are really good people to go vegan because when you are in recovery and you need to recover quickly, you realize how much your body has more energy for recovery after you're eating a plant-based diet rather than when your body is trying to digest slowly. That 6-hour digestion of a steak or something like that, like that's a lot of energy that your body could be putting towards recovering rather than breaking down this unnatural, unhealthy, hormone, chemical laden. You know what they're feeding these animals these days? They're eating GMO candy, they're eating feathers, they're eating pets, other euthanized animals, blood meal from other species. It's dangerous, it's horrible, it's disgusting. They act like it doesn't happen. It does. They eat plastics now. They're eating like all sorts of disgusting stuff, and a lot of it's all GMO, corn, soy, unnatural foods that they shouldn't be eating anyways. So these systems, what do we want to create for our world going forward? Again, your health and your journey is not just about you. This is a spiritual journey that's about all of us, and we're all connected. So for you to get better, it affects me. For me to get better, it affects you. We are all in this together, and it's deep. It's really deep. Okay, so it affects us spiritually. All of this putting these hormones, these fears, these screaming, dying, tortured animals that have seen nothing but poop their whole lives and dark, cramped quarters and death and everything else, smelly smells. Like you're eating those and you're putting that into your body and trying to be a spiritual being. Like, no. That's why a ton of people, especially I just noticed on my Facebook or on my Instagram, like a ton of the people that I'm connected with on Instagram, they're like me. They're like, they started out going vegan for maybe environmental or health reasons, and then they later just happened to become vegans for the animals. Why? Because they cleared out all of that, um, the animals out of their body. Their body was able to get used to living without it, and I start to realize the energetic frequency doesn't match up anymore. Okay, you're out of the energetic frequency, which makes sense because if you need animals to starve, if you need animals to survive, you don't want that consciousness, that feeling bad all the time. So it would make sense evolutionarily if when you need to eat meat, that your body naturally kind of makes you less sensitive to that somehow, whether it's chemical, whether it's, I don't know, but it's a phenomenon that happens. Vegans don't just go a lot of times vegan for their health and then stay that way. It happens where they eventually become vegan, and whether it's a learning process and they just learn more, so they do more, so they do better, whatever it is, but it makes a difference. And you do realize an energetic frequency when you stop putting death and destruction and torture and everything like that into your body. Okay, and like I said, treat your body like a child. Carry snacks, but maybe don't become over reliant on them, right? Not too many all the time, right? Especially the sugary ones and the processed ones. Carry around those hydrating vegetables. Get that water bottle if it makes you happy and you can afford it. You know what I mean? Plan ahead. Oh, you always got to plan ahead with kids. Plan ahead with your own body, guys. And this is like becoming an adult. Really, it's babying yourself. It's to become a true, good, successful adult. I feel like you have to baby yourself. And the self-love, this is why I don't care about, I'm not chasing a relationship anymore. I chase relationships. I tried to force relationships my whole entire life. This is about self-love, baby. This is about me. Okay, I'm getting enough sleep. I'm enjoying the exercise. I'm getting my fresh air. I'm doing my mantras. I'm starting where I was. I'm only just trying to work on what's right in front of me, what needs to be done next that I actually feel like doing. Walk around the block. Keep doing that. And then if that's all you can do when you first start out is walk around the block, just keep doing that. Eventually you get to the point where you can go for a walk and a little loop over here. You can go down to the next pole next time. Now you can do 2 laps. Now you can do 2 laps 2 times a week, or whatever. You know what I mean? You just keep on going. I really love the progressive overload. It's so important. And it doesn't always have to be in time or weight. You can progressive overload in so many different things. Just with consistency, you can progressive overload. And you should be. That's the first way to go in the beginning. Just doing things more consistently. And again, if you can get outdoors to exercise whenever possible, kind of gazing at the sunlight, not looking into it, but kind of getting those sun rays just like in your eye at a certain point with no sunglasses, guys. The sunglasses actually can help you get to burned by the sun easier because your eyes actually have to regulate your chemical responses in your skin to the sun. So if you want to make the vitamin D, you got to even with glasses on, I try to kind of pull them down so I can and again, if you can kind of squint and kind of look at the rays that come off, this is going to get you some good, precursors to the vitamin D. This is going to get you good stuff for your circadian rhythm. It's going to help keep your moods and your hormones going at the right level. Again, support yourself, support your hormones. Don't let yourself get out of that homeostasis. A little bit of stress, a little bit of fasting is good to keep yourself sharp, but you want to have the basic homeostasis. And kind of that healing, restful vibe. Okay, we don't want to have the rushing woman syndrome, especially as we get older. Stress affects you more and more as you hit 40. The 40, guys, I don't want you to think of 40 as, okay, menopause is still so far away. 40 is when everything starts to think about maybe the possibility of we don't need to be doing this whole thing anymore. It's the first possible start. So you start to become there are little changes that start happening over the span of years and decades here that are, a decade and a half or so,